Good morning and welcome to another exciting episode of Extraordinary Ordinary Women. I'm Margarita and Mindset Matters. Without further ado, I have great pleasure in introducing you to Paula Stevenson. Now Paula, I met you early in 2023. I was particularly intrigued with your story of setting up a preschool in Botswana and spending 17 years over there. So good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Margarita. It's so great that you're interested in my story today, and I'm very happy to express what it's all about.
So obviously the first question is going to be, what was it that took you to Botswana setting up a preschool?
Okay. Well, I think to start with, I've always had a desire to explore and experience new and different places, whether that be in Australia or overseas, specifically immersing myself in culture.
Lovely.
So I
Yes.
think when you work in another country, that inspires you a lot more than just through travel.
It does, yes.
Yes, because you can be so in touch with the people and you learn a lot more.
Absolutely.
Yes. So the first step that took me there was when I registered with Australian Volunteers International.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yeah, which is an organisation that takes you further afield, and I received a placement in Botswana. So that's what led me there and took me on a long journey that I didn't expect.
Well, this story really excites me because that was something that I really wanted to do, but I was married to a farmer who has concrete shoes, so
Okay.
that never happened. So I'm
Sure.
always excited to and intrigued to listen to stories
Yes.
of people who actually did that.
Okay.
So you're in Botswana and you...
Yes.
What-
So
Yes, the
the
preschool.
placement took me there, and that was a 2-year contract. So
Right.
during that contract, I thought, because my volunteer work was involved with preschools, and I'd take my 2.5-year son along as well. So I was busy thinking to myself, you know what, this just seems like the perfect time to put into place my actual long-term desire to open a preschool,
Wow.
which I'd had. And
Right.
it just never presented itself before in other places that I've travelled. And I wanted to open it specifically in a different country.
And isn't that interesting where you have often a dream or a passion that's just sitting there, sub-level there,
Yep.
and then when the opportunity arises, it opens up.
Exactly.
Yes.
I just felt it. So I
Right.
pursued all the groundwork to do with that by 2002,
Right.
which was the end of the Australian Volunteers International contract,
All right.
which was a bit of a grueling process, but
Yes.
all in all. So it was by 2004 that my preschool opened,
Wow.
which I named Read and Write Nursery School. So it began with 2 staff, myself and Likando, a lady from Zimbabwe,
Right.
whom I first employed, and 9 students that had enrolled.
Wow. Massive steps. So with any great undertaking, there are challenges. What were some of the challenges that you faced, and I guess particularly in a foreign country, in a different culture?
Yes. Well, certainly I would probably first think of all the challenges associated with all the paperwork,
Yes.
the trying to acquire your permits regularly. That was an application process that would happen every 2 years, or if you had your own business, every 5.
Right.
But still, it was a process that one needed to undergo. So going to official departments, doing that, it's a bit of a nightmare sometimes, because when they wanted to sort of knock off for lunchtime, it was knock off and
Right.
come back later. Too bad if you were sort of next in line in the queue,
Oh, okay.
then you'd have to come back. But, once I realised, what, Paula, it just calm down, relax.
Go with the flow.
Yes, go with the flow,
Right.
I would say.
Yes.
And once I also had learned a bit more Setswana, the local language,
Right.
and would throw in a bit of that when I'd go to these departments, try to make them laugh,
Right.
then that would go a long way.
Okay.
So that was how I'd sort of overcome that. I guess one of the other challenges might have been, or was actually, just being a single woman in Botswana.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Culturally so?
Well, culturally so, and I suppose just in general,
Right.
sort of coming to terms with that. after have been married as well.
Yes.
So I wasn't at this point. So coming to terms with that personally and culturally, being a single woman in the country, but also, you know what, I looked at that situation and thought, well, wherever you are, you need to come to terms with how to move forward in life
Yes.
as a single woman, and also how to move forward in life in the context that I was. And I did that by just with my desire to be successful in unknown waters.
Oh, that's so
I think
awesome, because
going into the unknown
Yes.
is where you really learn and discover
whoa,
yourself.
don't you? Yes. And doing that in an environment where you are, like at home here in Australia, where you are more comfortable, you know your surrounds, is, well, it was hard enough for me
Yes.
in a known environment.
Sure.
I can only, I don't know what I can do, but I can imagine how much harder it would have been to do all of that in a foreign country.
Yes.
So I take my hat off to you for that, as well as moving forward with the preschool. So I've worked with children for many, many years and found it very rewarding. What were the rewards of working with little children in the preschool from a different culture and in a different country?
Certainly. I think a lot of things are similar to here within preschools. But when I look at it overall, I would say because the basic needs of young children are love and nurturing,
Yes.
I felt that my preschool provided that. And just watching them thrive and flourish in that environment was very rewarding.
It is, isn't
Yeah,
it? Yes.
and especially also since some of the children were from home environments that had those basic needs lacking.
Right.
So that was particularly special when you could see those types of kids really flourishing. So then also just looking at watching them grow and learn,
Right.
and acquiring a second language, which was English. My school was English medium. And then watching how they then used that language in everyday life at school.
Okay. Yes.
So culturally, it was interesting, and also just sometimes it was just plainly entertaining.
All right.
For instance, like especially the girls, they were fascinated with my hair. Oh well, and the boys as well.
Yes.
But the girls would like to sort of plait my hair. So one day sitting there letting them plait my hair, maybe 10 hands to my head. Then suddenly one girl just touched my arm gently and she goes, "Who painted you, teacher?"
Oh
It
wow.
was just so special. I just loved it.
Yes.
So
And
just
innocent.
innocent.
So
Yes,
innocent,
innocent
yes.
is a key word. So just having those little things happen from time to time was excellent as well.
Lovely.
So in Botswana, in the preschools, they have a graduation ceremony.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So that was something that I wasn't used to. So you would need to have items that the children prepared, and parents would come and you'd have lunch and all of that. Like the end of university or something. So sort of watching that graduation process and how the kids and the parents felt so proud of what was going
Lovely.
on.
Wow.
Yeah, that was special. And then also having that mix of what we did at school combined with cultural play that the children had.
Okay.
If I can explain, for example, in Botswana, people made wire cars, and they could sort of push them along with a long wire handle.
Oh, okay.
Had wheels.
Right.
They were excellent. And things like rolling tyres in the playground. So having that mix really taught me a lot as well
Right.
in terms of culture, and watching them play with that and being involved in the environment of the school in that way was fantastic. And then sometimes you'd meet a child who'd been at my school in the street some years later, and they would greet you, they'd remember you, and just they'd express their appreciation of you, which
and,
was very humbling.
and that is very, very special, because even from my perspective, when I the students that I've taught over the years, and you walk down the street and they greet you with a smile, you know you've done a good job. You know you've had a positive impact.
Exactly. So that was one of the things that we always appreciated about the children.
So Paula, having traversed this path, what would you say have been the rewards of the actual journey that you took? Not so much from the children, because that's a beautiful reward that as teachers we receive, but of the journey of setting it up, being a single woman, that whole experience. What were the rewards for yourself?
Yeah, it's a very broad question.
It is, isn't it?
I'll just try to highlight a few things.
Right.
I think a reward in itself, which is also something that was beyond my wildest dreams, was the amount of time that I ended up spending in Botswana.
Which was 17, 18 years?
18 years.
Yes, right.
10 of which my preschool was opened, and 8 were just in other schools. So, that was just something in itself, if you like.
Absolutely.
And I never expected
to stay over
to be there. So that was fantastic, and it just went on in different realms and different cycles as I moved through that journey. Yes. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So then also the experience of people and community and places.
Right.
That sort of challenged or changed or shaped sort of the way I was thinking about life.
Right.
In that aspect, and it shaped my aspirations and desires for life moving forward. I think that's a good way that I would put it.
Yes, because out of every challenge comes positive.
Yes.
And to be able to see what that positive is instrumental in being able to move forward in a different direction.
Exactly.
Under different conditions.
So that would be sort of something of great significance that I would mention. Aside from that, my experiences of the whole 18 years in total, that sort of proved to me that the internal sort of workings of my aspirations could come to fruition. And it proved that to me. So I know that moving forward, whatever I feel my desires can be, I can make them come to fruition.
And that is such an important lesson, isn't it? Because so often we have these magnanimous desires, dreams, and there's that little voice which often sounds like a big voice.
Exactly.
that says, what are you thinking of? Have you got rocks in your head? But to be able to go forward, follow it, and sure there are some stumbling blocks, and to actually achieve this dream that is initially so far out there and out of reach.
Definitely.
Just reassures yourself that yes, we have the capabilities within us to achieve these amazing things.
And I think finally I would say that having a mindset that allowed me to explore and experience life in a meaningful way,
right,
for myself and for my son, during the time that he was there as well. That was something that was one of my biggest rewards of that journey.
And that's interesting because I'm finding that, I have found that with my journey, and that's, hence where I'm coming from, is this total mindset that with a positive mindset we can achieve, and hence my encouraging other women, Now, in our conversations previously, you mentioned that you set this preschool up and then you left it in charge, you left somebody else in charge of it. That must have been a wonderful experience to be able to have trained somebody to step in and take over.
Yeah, it was. She was very trustworthy and eager and keen to be appointed that role. She wasn't just a colleague, she became a close friend during that time.
I would imagine so.
Yes. And once the preschool was closed, she worked elsewhere, and then her name is Lakanda. I mentioned her right at the beginning. She was the first person that worked with me at the school. So then I think it was by 2016 or so that she also came to work at the school where I was last working before I returned to Australia. So she came up to a school there, and we got the chance to sort of rekindle with each other and work for a year at least together before I sort of returned to Australia. Yeah, so that was fantastic. So yes, her memories will be with me. Sadly, she died
Oh, no, I didn't know.
in the year that I
Right.
came back.
Oh, okay.
So that was sort of challenging, but I worked through that, and sort of having the preschool together with her helped me work through her death.
Yes.
So that was, yeah.
Right.
But she was a very valued person in my life.
Thank you. Paula, thank you.
I didn't expect to share that, but it came out.
There you go. And sometimes that's what happens. These beautiful, precious gems from deep down just pop
Yes.
up and get shared.
That's
Paula,
right.
thank you so much for sharing your story with us here today. And I look forward to sharing more stories of extraordinary, ordinary women